Hi everyone, welcome to Meet Your Maker. This week we are joined by director Fraser Scott, um, who directed the film The Brave, and we'll watch the film first and then we can come back for the Q&A. Hope you enjoy.
Of Scotland's residents feel Scottish. The other 17% were probably born somewhere else. A majority of Scots, 52%, reported feeling more British than European. For just under half, 24% of all respondents, this gap was small, with British identity beating European identity by only 1 or 2 points. However, this is a majority nonetheless, and less than a third, 30% of Scots, reported feeling more European than British. 62% would say Scottish, not British.
Got to go to school, Scotty boy. Got to go. How? How are you going to get a job if you didn't go to school? Aye, right. Got to go to school. Got to learn to sit at a desk and keep myself from tapping my foot through the ground. Keep myself from climbing the walls. Keep myself from getting sent to the big man's office. Or getting kicked out of school. Or going on the dole. I was out working younger than you were, Scotty boy. Aye. Carting bricks around a building site for minimum wage, no less. That's the dream, Mum. So why? I'll go to school. Hiding for the police at my mate's cousin's gaff. Trying to squeeze into a bath. My pal's not even shite. My bird was past fucked. I'm 15 years old and I'm just getting started. Halfway through a 3-day bender. I spoke to some guy, vaping in my face. This is a shiter of a country, isn't it, son? I told him to get to fuck. Couldn't believe some cunt could talk shite about where they were fae. And why, sir? Do you feel so dispassionately about your beautiful homeland? You're no one of them nationalists, are you, son? The deepest of chats and the darkest of nights, fueled by the juice of life. And he thought this country was past its prime. You're just a wee guy. We're all just wee guys, aren't we? I'm standing here, holding out my horn. I'm just wanting to dance. It's no much to ask. To dance with my fellow man, putting colour and creed on the sidelines, party till the sun shines on Leith. Where's my voice, man? Where's the tunes? They Beastie Boys were right, fighting for my right to have a party. Get all the noise complaints you want when you get the chance to be heard and listened to. Breaking bottles on broken benches. Men she'd with forgotten names or forgotten pals that didn't come to mind. Scratched out into wood and bus stops, like something that will nae wash off. Means you will nae wash off the face of the earth. They'd only remember you down the road. Your neighbour's dog wouldn't smell your corpse if it was taking a piss on your grave. Sky's black a 4-4 and you can't see anything in front of you with your hood pulled down. Carrying your prospects in your back pocket like a blunt blade for your granny's kitchen. The walls are all full of holes, but I'm a fuck fitting through any of them. You can't break down a wall when you're your own wall. And you can't unbuckle your skeleton when you trade in your own name for a fag. Do you still have a name? And do you still have a name when there's a quid in your pocket but you've still got more change than tomorrow? Your ma's a shiter. Your dad's a wanker. Take a joke. Ripped up souls, your trainers are fucked. Shagging, stealing, desperate to mark the flare with something that says you were there. Switch on the telly. Who do you see that looks like you, sounds like you? Who's out there stoning up for the kids in the scheme? They wanes with the dreams. You're trading in your life for a knife and a couple of pals. Back of the class, back of the bus, fuck all else to do. Pigeons are going more places than you. We've got no permanent address, permanent unrest, working, but no for your class. You have a choice to give up your voice or scream and shout till your throat dries out. Belt till the mighty fall for their towers, till they give you more than devolved fucking powers. You've got one wee room in a big fucking world. Plaster your posters. Make your bed. Your wants are no going unsaid.
Hi, Fraser.
Hello.
So would you mind introducing yourself to begin with?
Yeah, so I'm Fraser. I'm the director and co-writer of The Brave, and I am the creative director of Kick the Door, which is the kind of production company that created The Brave.
Okay, and just a reminder for everyone watching that you can ask questions and I'll ask them to Fraser at the end. So first, where did you get the idea for this film?
So we, when I say we, I'm going to talk about myself and Iona, who co-wrote the film with me. We kind of wanted to create a kind of like very Scottish story. Like we kind of each had little bits of kind of stuff written about like identity and being Scottish and kind of language and all that kind of stuff. Like we each had kind of like little bits and we started kind of pulling it together. And we kind of thought that there was maybe some sort of through line to it, and maybe there was like a character or there was like there was something in those little bits. So we kind of wrote more, and we ended up creating like loads of these little like vignettes or kind of scenes about this kind of on this kind of general theme. And then that was really where the idea kind of came from. Like it was kind of birthed from a couple of kind of pre-written things, and then this kind of like desire to kind of make something as a duo, but also to kind of make something very much about Scotland, about Scottish identity, because it's something that we both feel kind of very passionately about. So that was kind of the kind of foundation for the piece.
Cool. So from start to idea to end, roughly how long did it take you to make the film?
So we probably wrote the film over 2 months, maybe, kind of like on and off. Probably spent 2 months kind of writing and stuff, and then because I was at uni at the time we were shooting, we had kind of all those resources at hand quite quickly. So you know, a lot of the crew were friends in my class. Cameron, who was the actor, was someone that I knew from youth theatre and stuff. So that kind of pre-production process was really quick, and obviously like a one-person cast, a really small crew makes that production process like so much quicker. So again, of getting everything in gear once with a script was actually pretty simple. And then the shoot we shot over 2 days. We kind of did one main day, and then we did a second day kind of where we went kind of out to more locations, and we shot more stuff that wasn't in the final cut. But we shot kind of over 2 days, and then I worked with Joe, who cut the film, and we kind of cut it over a few months. So we finished shooting in November 2018, and then we finished like the final cut of the film in February of 2019. So kind of probably like 5 months total process from initial concept to kind of final cut.
And referring to the shoot, what was the hardest part? Any obstacles you had to overcome?
I think there probably for me, like this was probably like one of the first kind of proper shoots that I did, and kind of the first one of the first kind of like proper director projects that I did. So I think personally for me, like there was that challenge there of not just directing a film, but directing a film that was like a monologue. It was quite theatrical, and it's like there's no dialogue. It's kind of like all delivered to camera, and making sure that felt like dynamic and interesting, and it didn't feel too boring. And trying to keep that varied. So I think for me, like that, it was a big learning experience in terms of like creating that kind of work, and it's informed a lot of the work that I make now, because I'm quite interested in that form and that style. So I make quite a lot of similar work in terms of that style and kind of straight to camera stuff and all that kind of stuff. The actual shoot itself was pretty. There weren't too many problems. I'd say our biggest obstacle was filming on the underground in the subway. For those shots, we wanted to have this feeling of like the subway being like packed, really busy, and we were just gonna like sneak in and like shoot through people's jackets and coats and capture Cameron and like sitting. And we sat on the subway, and honestly, for the first time in my entire life, the Glasgow subway was empty. Like it's how I mean, we did manage to get those shots of him in the carriage on his own, which I think looked great, but I couldn't believe, like, I feel like I've never been on a subway and it's been empty. And we wanted the pure jam packed so we could like show all the people pure crowded around them. So that was quite funny. I think we got there and we were like, this is ridiculous. I feel like the subway's always pure jumping. And the one time you need to be dead, we didn't get caught, however, which is also quite good. So I think that was probably like the hardest challenge, generally speaking. But I mean, yeah, it was pretty smooth in general. Like there were no disasters, which I think is always a relief for any shoot.
And what would you say the highlight was?
I'd probably. What was the highlight? That's a good question. I think the subway. Shooting subway stuff was probably up there. I think it was nice to like. It's such a good looking location, and although it wasn't jam packed, we did quite luck out at getting some of those shots. I think it looked really cool when he's kind of standing on his own. Like I think for me, that's like a real moment that I really enjoy. And I think just like finishing, and because as I kind of said, this was the kind of like first project that we did as a kind of collective, as a group, kind of out with like class and uni and stuff. So I think it felt nice to kind of have achieved this off our own backs and been like, oh, we get the initiative to make this and write this and create it. And so I think kind of having that end product was really a highlight for me as well.
Okay, so obviously it was a cast of one. Was that any different to having a cast of 5 or 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly having done projects now with bigger casts, it's a definitely different experience. I think obviously it's dependent on your project. I don't think not every film can work with one cast member. Do you know what I mean? But I think it gives you a lot more time to spend, obviously, with that one person. And it means you can really, kind of focus in on just that person, what that person's doing. I think, whilst that might be a positive, I think there are also negatives to that as well. It means that, your actor doesn't have anyone to act with. You're really relying on them and their performance and their face being really engaging, so that you as an audience member are drawn into that performance, and they have to be able to kind of just know the piece so well that they can like bounce off themselves, because they've got nothing else to bounce off of. So I think it's about making sure that they as actors have something to do beyond just delivering the lines, because I think it's when you have 2 actors or 3 actors in a scene, it immediately becomes more dynamic, because they're like, someone will always surprise someone else. So when it's just one actor, like, you kind of need to be that second actor almost as a director. Like, you kind of need to step in and kind of create that surprise. And so it's definitely a different experience. I think kind of, as I said, like, whilst it lets you hone in on that kind of one character and work really closely with them, you also need to then actually work double as hard to make sure that they are given a really exciting performance. But I mean, we were very blessed. Cameron was obviously, like, as you have seen in the film, he's very good at doing that. He kind of comes from a theatre background, so I think that actually helped, because the piece was in that kind of monologue style. And yeah, he kind of came in and just knew the whole thing kind of off by heart, which is just an absolute time saver as well. Like, it was really great. I think sometimes you on set and actors are pure struggling with lines and it just slows everything down. But when you get someone who comes in and he just knows it all, especially like wordy stuff like that, it's really difficult. But that really made the process like a whole lot easier.
Cool. So obviously the dialogue is all rhyme. Was that something you always wanted to do, or was that something that came a bit later?
Yeah, I think it probably was something we always wanted to do. I think we knew it wasn't going to be like, we knew it wasn't going to be kind of conventional like naturalistic dialogue or anything like that. I think kind of, as I said, it was kind of, the piece was kind of born from poetry a little bit, and born from I think I and Iona as well, we both really like using like Scots dialect as in a poetic way, and kind of using it as more than just slang or whatever. I think it exists as a language. I think we really wanted to like celebrate that language and show off that language a little bit. So I think we always felt that a kind of poetic approach to the dialogue was actually right. So we did kind of write it with that in mind. I think it for us, it was kind of one of the real purposes behind the piece, was to have this like really tight piece of like Scots poetry kind of, and I think it's interesting when the film was screened in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh International Film Festival, and they're the kind of New Visions thing, and they'd asked us like if we wanted the subtitles to be like translated or not, and we had to fight for the subtitles to be as they were, as they were in the script, which was like kind of in that modern Scots slang as opposed to like in English. But yeah, I think it was, for us, it was always going to be kind of poetic in that sense.
Cool. So what would you say that you've learned from making this film?
So I think it's really interesting for me. Like, so I made this film between first and second year of uni. So I've now graduated uni, and I made this film between first and second year. And I had just finished my first year film, and I think like I had, put my heart and soul into it. Like, I worked really hard. I was like, this is incredible. And it wasn't. It was really bad, and it wasn't really like me or my voice. It was just this kind of like rubbishy student film, which is to be expected. It was my first proper film at uni and stuff. Like, it was a bit like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then my second year film was the same actually. Like, I think like from my first year film to my second year film, I did learn quite a lot. But I think my second year film, I still look back on and I'm like, oh, it's not great. But The Brave, which was made in between those two things, I'm happy with, and I think was the first. I think for a while I tried to kind of fight that voice that was like my voice. I kind of didn't want to make films like that, or didn't feel like they would be good or whatever. But actually, like, The Brave, I think, is the first example of making a film that is true to my voice and who I am and who I want to be as a filmmaker. So I think like it really took me like making that film and then making another film that was bad to then be like, oh, I should, this is actually who I want to be and what kind of stories I want to tell. So I should just make those kind of stories, and not worry about what anyone else thinks. Like, I think a really good example is my first year film. I didn't want Scottish accents in them because I was worried it would be a bit cringy. Do you know what I mean? And then I decided that actually that wasn't right at all. I've come real full circle, and I want to celebrate and use Scottish language and accents as much as possible. So I think like the biggest lesson it taught me was to just like make what you want to make, and eventually you'll find, because I don't think like I've found my voice as a filmmaker, if you want to call it that. Do you know what I mean? But I think every film that you make points you like one step closer to that, or you know what I mean, or you say, oh, that's not really me. We'll just scratch that one, and then you make one. You're like, oh, this part of this film is really, I really like this, and you slowly start to build this catalogue of like pieces that really summarize you as a filmmaker with your voice. So I think, yeah, that was kind of the biggest lesson for me, was to just make stuff, and some of it will be good, some of it will be bad, but everyone is a step to your potential.
And is there anything that you would change in the film? Obviously, it's okay if there's nothing you would change, but is there?
Is there anything I would change? I think we we cut a couple of we cut a couple of vignettes that had kind of, we felt were kind of slowing the film down a little bit. There was a sequence where he's like eating like chips and stuff. It's quite funny. And there's a sequence where he's like in a like parking garage, kind of talking about football and stuff. And I kind of wish we'd kept those in. But I think, you know, you're always trying to balance like the time you spend and like the time an audience spends with something. I think, you know, you want to keep your stories as tight as you can. But you know, I kind of wish that maybe those were in. But then you're then like you're then looking at a 9-10 minute thing, and then obviously it starts to get a bit boring or repetitive. But I think, like, as I said, like I do look back on it quite fondly, and I still think it kind of holds up. So there's not too much I would change. I think we managed to kind of capture something quite special. I like to think so. I wouldn't want to tamper with that in any way in case I ruined it.
So how did you get into filmmaking to begin with?
So I am from a kind of theatre background. Like that's kind of where I kind of started doing like art stuff at all. Like I really like Primary 7, Bugs and Malone school show, solid. I was like, I love this. This is great. I'm gonna be an actor. It's gonna be amazing. So I thought, you know, through high school, I was like, I'm gonna be an actor. I'm gonna be an actor. It's gonna be really good. And then I in 5th year, I bought a camera and started making little videos for school. I was going to Malawi with our school, so I was kind of like appointed as like the video person for that trip. So I did all the kind of like charity videos, like fundraisers, all that stuff, you know, your classic like vlog style things. And I really, really, really liked it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should do filmmaking. That seems a little bit more sensible than acting. So that's what I decided to do. I was like, I'll apply to unis and stuff, like blah, blah, blah. So I applied to the conservatoire, amongst other places. And for that application, I had to make a film. And that was the first like kind of like, my application film for RCS was the first like fiction film that I made, which was really fun. I made a kind of like romancy, like split screen kind of thing, which was quite fun. And I was lucky enough to get in. So it's been that was kind of my introduction. Like my introduction to kind of being a filmmaker was like very late in high school, and kind of fell into it a little bit. You know, I made loads of really stupid videos, and then you kind of end up being like, oh, maybe this is really cool. You know, I really like art and performance, but also like I really like tech stuff, like cameras and lights. So it's like a really happy like marriage of that stuff. And then I think, you know, then doing that course at the conservatoire was really eye opening. I think I kind of came into it with a lot of preconceptions, and you know, as an 18, 19, you know, don't really know, like, I mean, I still don't really know, but like what you want to do with your life, all that kind of stuff. And I think I had a real was really into it in first year, and then in second year I kind of fell out of love with filmmaking a little bit. I think part of me kind of wished I was doing a theatre thing. I think that was quite hard for me, and then I kind of found my way back around again, and I think it was around that same time, kind of what I was talking about, you know, kind of realizing like what film can be, as opposed to it's not as prescriptive as I thought it was. You can really do whatever you want with it. You can kind of make wild, crazy stuff that is really about you, or about, you know, what you want to say. And I think like I'm now in a really good place where I'm doing loads of film stuff, and I'm also doing loads of theatre stuff, and I've really kind of found a really happy medium with that. So I've had a kind of really interesting, I think anyway, an interesting journey with film, and kind of how I've settled into it now.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to people that are thinking about going into film in the future?
What would I? So I think for me, the biggest thing that I learned, and it's probably the only piece of advice I would ever give, is to just make stuff. Like it's the thing that like I learned kind of just by doing stuff, you'll eventually make something good. Like, you know, you might make 5 really bad films, but each one will be slightly less bad than the next one. and then maybe your sixth film will actually be pretty good. Or, you know, there's bits of a film that are great, or bits of a film that are bad, and then you take the good bits and you take them on to your next one. Do you know what I mean? But I think like, you know, I think if I don't know, I'm talking about uni again, but I think if I'd only made the 3 films that we had to make for uni, I would be a lot further behind as a filmmaker. I think, you know, where I've really grown as a filmmaker and as a director has been through my own stuff, and I think it's really the only way to get good at something is just to practice. And I think, like, you know, obviously making a film does take a lot of work, and it's not sometimes it's not as easy as just doing it. But I think for me, like that was something I wish I could have told myself earlier, was that, you know, just go out and make stuff, and don't expect it to be groundbreaking and like award winning and incredible and changing lives. Just try and tell a story, and then tell another story and do it in a different way, and then just keep doing it, and eventually you'll hit something good, or you'll learn something about yourself, or you'll, you know, meet a good actor. And it's just about practice and building your kind of voice as a filmmaker. You know, I mean, it's like, even when obviously all this COVID stuff happened, like for me, like in February, March last year, I was like, right, what can I do to, you know, because I just graduated, and I was like, I'm going to spend however many months doing nothing. Like, so, you know, I've managed to make a couple of films, you know, in lockdown. Like, they're obviously not like whatever, but it's just about doing stuff and practicing that. And I think for me, that's been the biggest lesson. It's really the advice I would give, is to just make as much as you can.
Cool. So do you have any plans for future films?
Yeah, so we've actually ended up being quite busy, which has been quite nice. We wrapped on something just in November. I like just actually what I was talking about there, like just wanted to make something. Like I had like a script that I'd been like, or like it was like a monologue that I'd written that was just kind of sitting, and I was like, I really want to make something. Like I just want to make something before Christmas. So we like rapidly pulled together like actors. Like we shot in my house, got a couple of crew, and obviously like it was like during COVID, still obviously during COVID times, but you know, I had to do like 3 risk assessments, and were all face masks and temperature gunned and stuff, and we bashed out this short film in a day, which was really fun. So that's now getting cut, so hopefully that'll be kind of finished soon, and I can start firing that off to places. And then we are shooting. I just got funded through, actually, which was really exciting, for a film. I developed as part of our kind of last year at uni, we developed a feature script, and I had a spec short written for that script, so I've just received funding through to kind of develop that film. So we're hopefully shooting that short film in April time as well, which will be quite good. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, we're busy, which is so nice. Actually, it's nice to, you know, have something to do, and have something to look forward to. I think it's been such a bleak time, and I feel like I spent a lot of last year like scrambling for, you know, scraps of money, or like just writing stuff, or getting people to asking people for help, like just whatever. So it's nice to kind of come into the new year and be like, okay, there are projects, you know, finished, or there are projects upcoming that are going to be really exciting and really fun. So I think I feel quite lucky that I'm in that position, actually. So yeah, we certainly until April, I'm pretty busy, which is nice.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I'll give everyone a few minutes to ask any questions, and I'll just let you know that since the festival that we held in November, we've been holding fortnightly Meet Your Makers and workshops in relation to our film challenges. They've now closed, and the winners will be announced soon. And in 2 weeks, we've got another Meet Your Maker in collaboration with Cafe Flicker, which is based in Glasgow, and we hope to see you there. So if anyone's got any questions, or if not, I'll wrap up. So thank you very much for coming, Fraser, and thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.